Hello and welcome to this episode of the Industrial Engineering Notebook. Today's topic is capacity and utilization. So sometimes we do a lot of math and physics on this channel, but right now we're going to cut straight through to the heart of industrial engineering with capacity and utilization. You probably have an idea of what these mean, but I'm going to give you a definition of capacity here. Capacity is the amount of product able to be processed per unit time. This could be for a machine, this could be for an entire factory, or maybe just one single line in the factory. But let's say you walk up to machine 1 in your widget factory and it's producing stuff. How would you go about finding the capacity? Well, the first thing that I would do is do a time study. How long does it take to make one widget on this machine? And what this time study looks like can really vary. It depends on your factory and how advanced the technology is. In the olden days, it used to look like an industrial engineer walking up to the machine while the operator's working on their product, a timer in one hand and a clipboard in the other, and starting the timer when they start the widget and stopping the timer when they finish the widget. So that's kind of the old-fashioned way. It works. If you time enough widgets on that machine, you can get a pretty good average, and then you get an idea of the time it takes to produce one widget. If you're working in a more technologically advanced factory, you might be able to pull this data from a database somewhere. And if this machine is producing more than one kind of widget, you need to factor that into your average somehow. But the bottom line is, figure out how long it takes to process one widget. On to the next step. So the second step is, based on the time study, find the machine rate. So if your time study finds that one widget takes 6 minutes, and the unit of time that you care about is hours, you might say that this produces 10 widgets per hour. Or at least that's what this machine is capable of based on your time study. And most factories I know don't just have one machine, they have multiple machines, usually in series. So let's say you have a line of machines in your factory that looks like this, and just one type of widget goes through this line. You do a time study at each of these machines, and then you find the following rates. Now, before we had widgets per hour for our rate, here we have widgets per day. It doesn't really matter, it just depends on your individual factory. And the big question you might ask is, what is the capacity of this line? How many widgets per day is this line capable of producing? And the answer is that the capacity of the line is equal to the capacity of the weakest link on the line. So who's going slowest here? It looks like machine 2. Machine 2 runs at 8 widgets per day, which means the capacity of the line is going to be 8 widgets per day. It doesn't matter that machine 5 can go at 16 widgets per day, because machine 5 isn't going to be fed 16 widgets per day, because back here machine 2 is only producing 8. So you, being the observant industrial engineer that you are going to start looking for queues and downtime in this line. Machine 1's putting out 15 widgets per day, but machine 2 can only put out 8, which means you have a queue outside of machine 2 waiting to be processed. And on average in a day, you're going to have 7 widgets outside of machine 2 waiting to be processed. 15 minus 8. Machine 3, on the other hand, is capable of producing 13 widgets per day, which means it's going to have a shortage. In fact, it's going to have 5 widgets worth of downtime, all because they're waiting on product to come from machine 2. And so machine 3 in reality isn't actually putting out 13 widgets per day. At most they're putting out 8, which means machine 4 is going to have 1 widget's worth of downtime per day. And machine 4 is going to put out 8 widgets per day because that's the most that it's capable of producing, because that's the most that it's being fed, which means machine 5 is going to have 8 widgets worth of downtime per day. So that's a big queue and a lot of downtime that we're working with. Welcome to factory life. This is what it's like. Okay, now let's start to look at utilization. So we know what each machine is capable of and even what our line is capable of, but what percent of each machine is being utilized? Well, let's say the demand that we're working with is 6 widgets per day. And this is actually okay because no machine and no person runs at 100% all the time. While machine 5 might be capable of 16 widgets per day, no one's running at 100% of the time. And same with machine 2, the weakest link. It's even weaker than you think because no one can run at 100% of the time. So we actually want a demand that is lower than the minimum capacity in this line. And then to calculate utilization, we just got to divide. So 6 widgets divided by 15 widgets per day, which is what machine 1 is capable of, comes out to a 40% utilization for machine 1. 75% utilization for machine 2, roughly 46% for machine 3, roughly 67% for machine 4, and roughly 38% for machine 5. And maybe you don't know how to feel about some of these utilizations. 38% seems pretty low. What are these operators doing with all this downtime? And what about the poor operators on machine 2? They got this large queue behind them, but none of it's being processed. And this is where an IE comes in. How can we rearrange the machines? Is it even possible to put them in a different sequence? Why is one machine twice as fast as the other? Do they have some sort of tool that machine 2 doesn't have? Why is there this huge difference? What's being done during the downtime? Are there other more valuable tasks that we could have the operators doing while they're waiting for widgets from machine 4? Another thing you're going to need to determine is what percent utilization are you comfortable with? Could we bump these machines up to 85-90% utilization? What would that look like in your factory? And for this queue over here of 7 widgets, where are they being stored? How are they being picked? Is it first in, first out? Is it last in, first out? All of these IE questions are super important, and ultimately that's why they're going to pay you the big bucks, is to be able to ask these questions, find out the answer, and then propose a solution that will help the factory run more efficiently. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like it, definitely hit the subscribe button. If you have questions, please put them in the comments. Thank you.